Hello. Introduction to sexual reproduction in plants. With this video, we'll try to look at our view of sexual reproduction in plants. Introduction to sexual reproduction in plants is one of the subtopic discussed under Chapter 1, Reproduction in Organism. We'll be discussing more about sexual reproduction in plants, especially flowering plants, in Chapter 2. Now, there are diverse living organisms existing on planet Earth. Similarly, we have different plants. So there are diversity of plants existing on this planet Earth. Some plants are annual plants which perform their entire life cycle within one single growing season. They annually complete their life cycle. In case of biennial plants, they require 2 years to complete their life cycle. They are plants which are evergreen. They are called as perennial plants. Perennial plants usually proceeds their life cycle for many growing seasons till they die. We also have some characteristic unusual flowering phenomenon in some plants. Say for example, in case of bamboo, which flowers once in their lifetime. After flowering, they produce large number of fruits, and after that they die. So at the age of around, say, like 50 to 100 years, they'll produce one flower. They hardly flower many times, only once in their lifetime they flower once and they die. Likewise, this is bamboo, so you can see the picture of bamboo. Bamboo, right? All of you know. Once they flower, they produce large number of flower and they die. We also have a specialized, plant which is called Strobilanthes kunthiana or Nila Kuranji, which flowers once in 12 years or blossoms once in 12 years. In 2006 and 2018, in the month of September to October, Nila Kuranji flowered or blossomed. These flowers are usually found in the state of Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So once they flower, they form blue stretches. An entire hill gets covered with the blue stretches of Nila Kuranji or Strobilanthes kunthiana. So we have seen different types of plants: annual, biennial, perennial. Some flowers unusually once in their lifetime they flower. Bamboo, for example. Nila Kuranji, they blossom after 12 years. Now, there are different stages which are common to sexually reproducing plants. After the birth of the plant, after the germination of the plant from seeds, there is a phase called as vegetative phase. During vegetative phase, the plants grow and develop. They hardly reproduce. After attaining reproductive phase, plants flower and then they reproduce. Once they attain senescent phase, they hardly reproduce. Senescent here refers to aging, old age. So during the phase of senescence, they hardly produce flower, they hardly reproduce, and finally they die. Now, for occurring these different stages, phytohormones, hormones in the plants, and environmental factors are affecting changes in these different stages of the plant life. These three stages are observed clearly in case of annual and biennial plants. It is difficult for us to observe these three different stages distinctly in case of perennial or evergreen plants. We know that flowers are the organ of sexual reproduction in plant. Flowers have female reproductive structure called carpel or pistil. Carpel or pistil is having a bulging structure at the top or head called as stigma, and it is connected to the ovary by a tiny thin structure called as style. And inside the ovary we can see many ovules or maybe single ovules. And around the ovary, if the flower is bisexual, we have stamen. So stamens are having anther, bilobed anther, and thin filamentous structure, filamentous structure called filament, which is attached to the thalamus. Even carpels are attached to the thalamus. Around the male and female reproductive structure, in case of flower, we have colorful petals for attraction of pollinators. Flowers, entire walls of the flower are surrounded by sepals. Sepal usually protect the flower, and we also have receptacle pedicel, which support the plant. Receptacles are attached to the stalk or petiole. Now, we say that stamen are male reproductive part of the flower, and carpel or pistil is the female reproductive part of the flower. Right. Now, in case of unisexual flower, flower may not be having both the male and female reproductive structure as we have seen in the bisexual. Now, in case of unisexual flower, flower may be staminate. Staminate here refers to having stamen, right? So staminate here refers to the male flowers which are bearing stamens. Stamens are having anther and filament. Pistillets are unisexual flower which are having pistils or carpel, that is female flower, and these are bearing pistils. Now, there are different sexes in plant. Plants may be monoecious or bisexual, having both the gynoecium, female reproductive organ, and androecium, male reproductive organ. For example, we have peas, coconut, cucurbits, chara, castor, and maize. If you observe these plants, both the female reproductive organ having flower and male reproductive organ having flower are present on single plant. On single plant, there is growth of female flower and male flower. That is bisexual plant, having male and female flowers together on one single plant. We also have hermaphrodite plants, plants having similar to monoecious or bisexual plant, but they are having perfect flower. They are having bisexual flower. Hermaphrodite plants have both gynoecium and androecium within the same flower. So their flower is also known as perfect flower or bisexual flower, the flower that we have seen earlier. So both the male and female reproductive organs are present within one flower, and likewise there are many flowers having male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ having flower together on single plant. For example, we have tomatoes and hibiscus. Hibiscus or China rose is very popular, right? So perfect flower is there in the hibiscus, and hibiscus is hermaphrodite, having both the male and female reproductive organ. You can see here that these yellowish headed tiny structure are stamen, and at the center we have female reproductive structure or the pistil or carpel. We also have plants which are dioecious or unisexual plants. In dioecious or unisexual plants, both the male and female organs are separate. In case of plants are separate, male and female plants are separate. There is no existence of both the flower on one plant. This plant is female plant having female reproductive organ, and this plant is male plant having male reproductive organ. So this kind of plants are called as dioecious. For example, papaya tree is either male or female. Likewise, we have date, palm, sweet potato, and morchantia. All these are having different sexes. Plants are having different sex. Like human beings, we have male and female. In case of dioecious or unisexual plant, they do have male and female plants. Now, sexes in some algae and fungi are homothallic or heterothallic. Homothallic here refers to same. Thallic here refers to group of cells which are forming a thallus-like structure, group of similar cells. So both the male and female reproductive system, if present on single thallus, then it is called as homothallus. And if both the male and female reproductive systems are not present on same thallus, if they are present on different thallus or different this is different. There is a mistake. I would so both male and female reproductive systems are present on separate organisms. Now let's see how sexual reproduction occurs in flowering plants. The flower is shown in your screen. This flower is bisexual flower, similar to hibiscus, having female reproductive organ and male reproductive organ. In case of female reproductive organ, we have a bulging proximal structure which is attached to the thalamus, which is called as ovary. Inside the ovary we have ovules or megasporangium, in which there is formation of egg. In case of stamen, the male reproductive structure, if we cut it transversely or horizontally, we are able to observe the sporangia, in which microspore or pollen grains are formed. Now, pollen grains are formed from microsporangia, which are present inside the anther. After undergoing meiosis of the cells inside the megasporangium and microsporangia, then there is formation of microspore and megaspores. Megaspores are spores which are produced inside megasporangium. Microspores are spores which are produced inside microsporangia, and both of the megaspore and microspores are produced through a process called meiosis or reductional division. That means microspore and megaspores are haploid in nature. Now, after pollination is done either by biotic factor or abiotic factor. After pollination or transfer of pollen grains onto the stigma of female, there is germination of pollen grain by development of pollen tube, and male gametes are usually transferred through the pollen tube into the embryo sac. Megaspores will later develop into embryo sac, and inside the embryo sac we have egg. So pollen tube grows, and later on there is movement of the two sperm cells or two male gametes through the pollen tube inside the embryo sac. Embryo sac is having egg in the egg apparatus along with the two synergid cells, and opposite of it we have antibodal cells, and at the center we have polar nuclei. So later on, after double fertilization here refers to fusion of one of the male gametes with the egg cell and the other male gamete with the polar nuclei to form endosperm, and male gamete which fuse with egg will form zygote. Later on, there is development of embryo. Embryo is developed from zygote. Zygote on further division form embryos. There is division of zygote along with differentiation of the cells of the zygote. Around zygote there is formation of endosperm, which is having triploid number of chromosome. Zygote is diploid, right? Endosperm is nutrient for the zygote, developing zygote. Now later on there is development of seed. Seeds are usually present inside fruit. If you observe the fruit, outermost covering of most of the fruits are having hard covering, which is called as pericarp, P-E-R-I-C-A-R-P, pericarp. And within the pericarp we have pulpy region or fleshy region, and inside that is called as mesocarp. And inside the mesocarp or mesocarp encloses fleshy fruit, encloses seeds in most of the plant. So fruit is developed from ovary. The outermost covering of the ovary will develop into pericarp, and within the ovary we have zygote and embryo, which forms seeds. So mainly the seeds are formed from ovules. So ovules are present inside the ovary, which are also known as megasporangium. So seeds are developed from megasporangium or ovule, and your fruits are developed from ovary. And finally, after the germination of seeds, then again there is formation of new plants. So for this we have briefly looked at our view of the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We'll be discussing in detail about all these processes in chapter number 2. Now this is an illustration which shows reproduction in flowering plants. Let's see it again. So first the mature pollen grains lands on stigma and pollen tubes started growing, in which there is transfer of male gametes. So male gametes are of 2. After transferring of male gametes, there is fusion of one of the male gametes with the pollen nuclei to form endosperm, and other male gametes will fuse with the zygote to form discuss again. So generative cells will release two sperm cells, among which one of the sperm cell will fuse with the egg cell to form zygote, and later on there is development of fruit. Okay, this animation is too fast, so we'll discuss in detail in this chapter number 2. No need to be tensed. So try to answer these questions. First, you have to analyze the stages of sexual reproduction in plants, and second, discuss the unusual flowering characteristic in bamboo tree and Strobilanthes conepiana, and then you have to discuss about the monoecious plant, dioecious plant, and hermaphrodite plants. You also have to discuss about how sexual reproduction occurs in plants. You also have to distinguish between homothallus and heterothallus with respect to fungi and algae. And that's all for today in this video. So thank you. They were improper, too fast animation of the sexual reproduction is shown for that. Sorry. Thank you.